Once the decedents fell to the ground, Rodriguez is captured on the video advancing closer to the decedents, leaning over them with his arm extended and firing several more times. As decedent 1 attempted to crawl away from Rodriguez, he followed behind her and fired again. After a brief moment, Rodriguez appeared to reload his firearm. At the same time, decedent 1 sat up. Once he reloaded, Rodriguez fired several times at decedent 1. Jesus Christ, man.
It's not a time for you to say fun, wild, edgy things. Okay, there are probably 1,000 people in the chat currently documenting every single thing that you guys are saying in an effort to basically tie it back to me and this community and rob it of its context or anything like that.
Rob it of its context. Okay.
And to try to get me deplatformed. Like, lock in. Stop fed posting. It's not time for memes. Just because you're anonymous doesn't mean you will stay anonymous. All this stuff. Okay?
He's literally just saying, like, don't do this because people are watching. You're such a evil person. Oh my god, he's actually so disgusting, man. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about as what? So if no one was watching, if no one was there to clip you, like, it would be okay for people to celebrate that? Holy, he's literally just telling them to mask on. For those of you who don't know, there was an event yesterday in DC at the Capitol Jewish Museum. It was a networking event taking place, hosted by the American Jewish Committee. This is it here. It was a young diplomat's reception, and two attendees outside were shot. Someone ran up to them and shot them. And then he started chanting "Free Palestine," and then they got arrested. That's basically the story. So you can tell that there's a lot of discourse emerging now where basically all the people who knew stochastic terrorism and understood it as a concept very, 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 very well are suddenly completely oblivious about it. They have no idea how there could be any kind of through line. They have no idea how there could be any kind of through line from, saying that Zionism is Nazism. Anyone who is even slightly Zionist should be treated like a Nazi. They can't even be the local dog catcher. And what did we do with Nazis? Well, we killed them. We murdered them. Well, we didn't even murder them. We killed them in a war. And the ones who survived, a lot of them were, some of them were thrown into re-education camps. A lot of them faced like prosecutions. Like, the way you defeated Nazism was by invading the country. And like nowadays, Nazis are like outcasts, like they should be. They're socially outcasts. So if you think this should happen to Zionists or anyone you perceive to be Zionist, because the definition of Zionist is so loosely defined to basically mean anyone who has even the slightest sympathy for Israel or the Israeli people, then they would come under that hammer. The problem is that also encompasses the majority of Jews in the world. It actually encompasses the majority of Jews in the diaspora as well. And then people say, oh no, but how could you conflate Zionism with Judaism? It's like, well, most Jews do that. Most Jews would cross the threshold for an extremist to call them a Zionist with the things that they say and believe about Israel. So, I mean, not particularly surprising that that kind of rhetoric might have consequences. Now, again, people want to talk about making arguments for who you blame or like whatever else. The argument I would make is it doesn't matter. Same as what you would make with Christchurch. It doesn't matter who he was watching or what he was reading before he carried out the attack. What matters is not results-based analysis for this. It is what is the rhetoric and what would the rhetoric logically lead to. So if you look at the rhetoric and people are saying that they think Zionism is Nazism and we should use violence against Nazis, like punch Nazis, kill Nazis, anyone who is slightly sympathetic to Israel, we're going to consider a Nazi. What's the logical conclusion? Well, you either socially outcast them at the minimum, or you assault them, or you kill them, right? Like that's kind of where that leads. Fortunately, most of these people are politically useless, so they're never really going to act on any of their political ambitions beyond being annoying on social media. That seems to be the only talent they really have. But every now and then, someone's going to step out of the woodworks and do something mental. We had Aaron Bushnell setting himself on fire after Reddit posting about how October 7th was justified. And then now we've got another one here. So it's just... By the same token, no one blames Hamas for... in October 2023, shortly after October 7th, I think a Palestinian child in America was murdered by a racist white dude. Sorry, but I don't recall anyone blaming Hamas for that attack, or at least no one on the left, and they're right not to. Right-wingers might try to say that. They might try to blame Hamas for it, but that's stupid. When you see acts of like violence and racial discrimination and targeted violence, you blame the perpetrators and the rhetoricians who say things that would lead people to that conclusion. That's who you blame. You don't blame ISIS for Christchurch, right? You don't blame you blame or Islamic states that do problematic things. You blame the perpetrators and the rhetoric that inspires those perpetrators. It's how I'd put it, but So is Hamas to blame for this? I'm going to say no. For this particular thing, apart from the fact that they talk about spreading the intifada and all that shit, maybe. But, This was the event that they were attending, the two people. So I think the guy was a Christian with a Jewish father, right? The Christian Zionist with a Jewish father. His girlfriend, who he was about to propose to, she was a Jew, right? She was an American Jew. This is the event they were at. It was called the Young Diplomats Reception because they worked for the Israeli embassy. We are excited to invite you to the annual AJC Access Young Diplomats Reception on Wednesday, May 21st, sorry. This special event brings together young Jewish professionals 22 to 45 and the DC diplomatic community for an evening dedicated to fostering unity and celebrating Jewish heritage. Join us for heavy appetizers, cocktails, conversations, and a special guest speaker. So I don't really know if there's any specific targeting that was taking place of any individuals. I think he just went to this event because I don't even know why you would choose a young diplomats reception hosted by the American Jewish Committee. I think attendees were also from, there was like the Multi-Faith Alliance it's called, and Isra Aid was one of the nonprofits. Isra Aid, which is a dumb name, but okay. And apparently also there were nonprofits on humanitarian diplomacy from the region. And they were working together, in their own words, in response to humanitarian crises throughout the Middle East and North Africa. I believe also, this is what the BBC said, the event was billed as a networking opportunity to bring Jewish young professionals and the diplomatic community together. Its description said humanitarian aid organizers responding to humanitarian crises in the Middle East, including Gaza, were invited. So again, I really don't know what kind of quote-unquote intel this guy had over this area. But it looks like he just went up to the entrance and this couple was outside and he's just shot them. So that's pretty crazy. That's pretty up. I don't know why that's supposed to help Palestine, but I have heard from some people, at least, kicking around. I have heard that attacking the quote-unquote propagandists and weapon companies and politicians and Hasbroids behind this genocide, I have heard that people like that have direct physical access. Yeah, people in the West have direct physical access to those people, and protesting is not enough and need to escalate. And I wonder, wow, that's crazy. What could that possibly mean? Have you seen Hasan reacting to it yet? No. No, I have not. But I'm sure we will. We'll see all of the reactions, don't worry. This is the ADL talking about it on CNN.
Yes, right now is the CEO and National Director of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt. Jonathan, thank you for being here. But, I mean, what do you do with this? It is just horrific.
Look, first of all, I think all of our hearts break for the young couple who was killed, for everyone in the Washington, D.C. community. I mean, think about it. These people, their only...
Why is this 360p? Well done, ADL.
Only offense was going to the Jewish museum. They were killed because they attended a Jewish event. I mean, I gotta say, Kate, in many ways, this was inevitable. I mean, think about the data. We've talked about it before. ADL systematically tracks anti-Semitic incidents. We have seen a historic rise. 5 out of the last 6 years, we've reached record numbers. And look, 6 weeks ago, a man firebombed the governor's mansion in Philadelphia, in Harrowing.
There's a chilling video from the girl from 8 years ago talking about anti-Semitism. Well, send me a link. Links in Discord. Discord.gg/Lonerbox. Go into stream suggestions and send me the stuff there. This is something about the event, just to double check. Biggest event of the year, bringing together Jewish young professionals in the diplomatic community. We're excited to introduce this year's theme, Turning Pain into Purpose. Hear from members of the Multi-Faith Alliance and Israel Aid. They delve into humanitarian diplomacy and how a coalition of organizations from the region and for the region are working together in response for humanitarian crises throughout the Middle East and North Africa region. Wow. Business attire. Hey.
Harrisburg and tried to kill Josh Shapiro and his family. And that was 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago.
If the fault is the perpetrators, why does Box blame the war on Hamas? That is the most brain-dead thing I've ever heard in my chat in my life. That's like saying that you would blame... Responding to an attacker is not the same as responding to something that's happening on the other side of the world by attacking someone loosely associated on your side of the world. You understand that? So attacking Muslims in New Zealand because you're upset about what ISIS is doing, that's not quite the same as responding to a de facto state military that is invading you, that's tried to attack you. How do you think these are analogous, you idiot? That is what I said, you. What do you think I'm missing here? I'm saying that because Israel is doing things over in Gaza, that doesn't mean you should take it out on people who are barely loosely connected in America. That's not the same as responding to an attack directly on you. So, for example, the Nazis invade the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union responds. I don't blame the Soviet Union for their counterattacks against the Nazis because the Nazis invaded them. I would blame someone if there were... I do blame, for example, Stalin for taking all the ethnic Germans in Russia and deporting them to Siberia because they were unrelated. A lot of them didn't even speak German. He just saw them as a potential fifth column and sent them all the way to Siberia. Do you see the difference there? I don't blame the Soviets for their attacks against the Nazis because they were attacked. I do blame the Soviets for taking out some of their action on their local ethnic German population and sending them to Siberia, the Volga Germans. Do you understand? Or are you actually just like a 12 IQ, desperate for a gotcha?
FBI detained a man with explosives in his car in Gainesville, Florida. He was going to head down to the AIPAC office to murder people. I mean... Look, this happened just a few blocks from...
I get you changed your goalpost now. What was my original goalpost, you moron? What was my original goalpost? How is that contradict... You're trolling. Okay, you're trolling. Go have a nap. Take a 24-hour nap. Bye-bye.
The U.S. Capitol. I mean, this is terrifying, and it's just got to stop.
I mean, what does it, you talk about the record number of incidents and you put out this report. It's the highest number of anti-Semitic incidents that you guys have seen since, in what is it, the 46 years that ADL has even been tracking anti-Semitic incidents. But are they also becoming more violent? I mean, two people are dead this morning.
That's a great point. So yes, they are becoming more violent. We've seen a rise in harassment and vandalism, but it's the violence that it almost seems inevitable, Kate. Like, look, I'm angry today. I'm angry because we have been saying this. You know, when people scream lies or protesters about the Jewish people or the Jewish state, accuse us of being Zionists and committing genocide, these lies have consequences. And repeating them and normalizing them, those who tell us that anti-Zionism is a legitimate political ideology, it's not. Those who say that chanting intifada revolution is legitimate, it's not. And so when you call for violence, we shouldn't be surprised when violence actually ensues. And now we've lost two beautiful young people as a result, and it's a tragedy for the whole country.
There is a question if there was any security failure, if this person was on anyone's radar. That I don't think is yet to know unless you've heard anything.
Well,
but what do you I mean, have you heard anything?
Well, look, the ADL Center on Extremism monitors extremist groups like the Party of Socialism and Liberation, or PSL, that this man was associated with.
Now, as far as I know, this person met with this group like a couple of times in 2017, if even that. But I don't think he has. I don't think he's had any close association with them since. The PSL also condemned the attack. the socialist organization that this guy did something with like in 2017. The PSL actually, from all I can see, didn't do this whole like, oh, Zionism is making the place unsafe. Like they didn't do any of that shit. They just said that they condemned the attack. So they seem to be actually fairly okay in response to this, but who knows? That's all. I only saw one post, so I could be wrong.
Is associated with another, that is an anti-capitalist, anti-Western, and anti-Zionist group which regularly employs anti-Semitic rhetoric. So we know PSL. And look, there are extremists on all sides. The fringes seem to be incredibly empowered today. But all of us need to call it out. I'm thinking about the New York Times doing a gauzy profile a few weeks ago of this gamer, Hasan Piker, who regularly employs awful genocidal rhetoric against Jewish people in the Jewish state. Like, extremists should not be empowered. People who spout prejudice should not be platformed.
Here they come. Here comes the partnering allegations. Ooh.
This is a moment when we need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, we've got to stop this because the consequences are deadly.
Because reality is security is already heightened at Jewish institutions, synagogues, all over the place. If you go into a synagogue, you're going through a magnetometer and you're walking past police, which we always thank them for their time.
Yeah.
How much more secure are all these Jewish institutions going to have to get? But
think about that. Last year we had more than 1,700 incidents at Jewish institutions, Kate. More than 1,700.
Not a gamer.
Every Jewish institution has metal detectors, bulletproof glass, like police presence. It's not normal. We shouldn't normalize it. We've got to do something before it gets even worse.
And it's horrible today because 2 people are dead. Jonathan, thank you for your time. Thanks for coming on this morning. Sarah.
These goddamn gamers. Unbelievable. Do you think that's why Hasan's radicalized? Did video games make him violent? Oh shit. This is the shooter's Twitter account. I'm guessing it's been archived a million times. This is his Twitter account. He also posted I guess like a little manifesto. Is this the one? I don't think this is the one that no, there's more than one. This is there's another one that was posted on Clipperstein's Substack. A surgeon who treated the victims... No, wait, this isn't the full thing, is it? It's called Escalate for Gaza. Where have I heard that word before? Escalate. Let's see what he said here. Is this the manifesto? Hang on. This is part 2. Why did he put part 2 like that? Give me the Clipperstein. Yeah, this is apparently the manifesto. He says it's 900 words. I thought I saw 900 pages. I was like, why is it so short? Okay. Halantar is a word that means something like thunder or lightning. In the wake of an act, people look for a text to fix its meaning, so here's an attempt. The atrocities committed by Israelis against Palestine defy description and defy quantification. Instead of reading descriptions, mostly we watch them unfold on video, sometimes live. After a few months of rapidly mounting death tolls, Israel had obliterated the capacity to even continue counting the dead, which had served its genocide well. At the time of writing, the Gaza Health Ministry records 53,000 killed by traumatic force, at least 10,000 lie under the rubble, and who knows how many thousands more dead of preventable disease, hunger, with tens of thousands now at risk of imminent famine due to the Israeli blockade. All enabled by Western and Arab government complicity. The Gaza Information Office includes the 10,000 under the rubble with the dead in their own count. In news reports, there have been those 10,000 under the rubble for months now, despite continual making of more rubble and repeated bombing of rubble again and again, and the bombing of tents amid the rubble. Like the Yemen death toll, which had been frozen at some few thousand for years under Saudi, UK, US bombardment before being belatedly revealed to stand at 500k dead. Was it 500? When was it 500k in Yemen? Okay. I think it was like a few 100,000. I don't know if it was 500,000. Okay. All those figures are almost surely a criminal undercount. I have no trouble believing the estimates that put the toll at 100,000 or more. More have been murdered since March of this year than in Protective Edge and Cast Lead put together. What more at this point can one say about the proportion of mangled and burned and exploded human beings whom are children? Who let this happen will never deserve the Palestinians' forgiveness. They've let us know as much. An armed action is not necessarily a military action. It usually is not. Usually it is theater and spectacle, a quality it shares with many unarmed actions. Non-violent protest in the opening weeks of the genocide seemed to signal some sort of turning point. Never before had so many tens of thousands joined the Palestinians in the streets across the West. Never before had so many American politicians been forced to concede that, rhetorically at least, the Palestinians were human beings too. But thus far, the rhetoric has not amounted to much. The Israelis themselves boast about their own shock at the free hand the Americans have given them to exterminate the Palestinians. Public opinion has shifted against the genocidal apartheid state, and the American government has simply shrugged they'll do without public opinion and then criminalize it where they can, suffocated with bland reassurances that they're doing all they can to restrain Israel where it cannot criminalize protest outright. Aaron Bushnell and others sacrificed themselves in the hopes of stopping the massacre, and the state works to make us feel their sacrifice was made in vain, that there is no hope in escalating for Gaza and no point in bringing the war home. We can't let them succeed. Their sacrifices were not made in vain. Mate, I don't know about this dude, but Bushnell literally supported October 7th. He was on Reddit, like, supporting it when it happened. He was justifying it. He's not sad that Palestinians are dying. He's sad that Hamas didn't win. The impunity that representatives of our government feel at abetting this slaughter should be revealed as an illusion, then. The impunity we see is the worst for those of us in immediate proximity to the genocide heirs. A surgeon who treated victims of the Mayan genocide by the Guatemalan state recounts an instance in which he was operating on a patient who'd been critically injured during a massacre when suddenly armed gunmen entered the room and shot the patient to death on his operating table, laughing as they killed him. The physician said the worst part was seeing the soldiers, well known to him, openly swagger down local streets in the years after. You found some of his stuff, which is more insane than Bushnell. Okay. Which thread is this? On Discord? Is it in Mina happenings? Oh, this one. Okay. There's a lot here. He was a true and honor. Okay. All right, we'll see that. Elsewhere, a man of conscience once attempted to throw Robert McNamara off of a Martha's Vineyard-bound ferry into the sea, incensed at the same impunity and arrogance he saw in that butcher of Vietnam as he sat in the ferry's lounge laughing with friends. The man took issue with McNamara's very posture, telling you, "My history is fine and I can be slumped over a bar like this with my good friend Ralph here and you'll have to lump it." The man did not succeed in heaving McNamara off a catwalk into the water. The former Secretary of State managed to cling onto the railing and clamber back to his feet, but the assailant explicated the value of the attempt by saying, "Well, I got him outside, just the two of us, and suddenly his history wasn't so fine, was it?" A word about the morality of armed demonstration. Those of us against the genocide take satisfaction in arguing that the perpetrators and abettors have forfeited their humanity. Jesus. I sympathize with this viewpoint and understand its value in soothing the psyche, which cannot bear to accept the atrocities it witnesses, even mediated through the screen. But inhumanity has long since shown itself to be shockingly common, mundane, prosaically human. A perpetrator may then be a loving parent, a filial child, a generous and charitable friend, an amiable stranger, capable of moral strength at times when it suits him, and sometimes even when it does not, and yet be a monster all the same. Humanity doesn't exempt one from accountability. The action would have been morally justified taken 11 years ago during Protective Edge, around the time I personally became acutely aware of our brutal conduct in Palestine. But I think to most Americans, such an action would have been illegible, would seem insane. I am glad that today, at least there are many Americans for which the action will be highly legible and, in some funny way, the only sane thing to do. Jesus Christ, man. Does he have anything about his targets or why he went to that particular place? What was his Twitter account? Kyoto Leather. This isn't him, this is just a Reddit post on TrueAnon. What am I looking for here? He has a Spotify. Okay. What's this? I don't know. This has nothing to do with him. I think some people on Twitter who have interacted with him are trying to get in touch with the New York Times. Al Ali Hospital tweets. Let's see. Why not include voices of hospital staff who have said Israel called them to warn that they would bomb them in the days prior? Why present skepticism of flimsy lies by the IDF? Okay. As a Green reporter for the Trib, you have an opportunity to make a stand for real, honest reporting early in your career as a world historic moment. By peddling misinformation distributed by a genocidal regime, you are falling short of that moment. Reverse course, save your soul. The fucking righteousness is so fucking mental, man. Like, the self-righteousness is just disgusting. Like, for someone who just seems to... Even that little manifesto was just like such a limited engagement with the topic as well. We've changed, maybe for worse, but that crocodile has to die. What? Sorry isn't real, but this baby in Chicago says free Palestine, and what she says goes. Okay, slightly insane, but okay. JVP, wonderful. Happy New Year, death to Israel. Okay. Death to America. Very Axis. Okay. I agree with the public opinion that says to kill him. Yeah, very, typical 20th century communism. Just kill fucking everyone. Yeah, okay. Knife, pig, Israel. Oh, wow. The pig butchering invasion has begun. Okay. In the words of Syed Nasrallah, why should we forget our names and remember theirs? Why are their names while we are numbers? In captivity, they are names while we are 9, 10,000. In cemeteries, we are numbers and they are... Okay. I will personally never humanize a Zionist by mentioning their names or posting their photos. If only. If you're weak, the world will not acknowledge you, nor will it protect you, nor will it defend you, nor will it cry for you. What will protect you is your power, courage, fists, your weapons, your missiles. Bro, you're dead. You died. Your pages blew up, and then you died. Sulfur is archiving his tweets. Okay. Zionism, progressive tweeps. As much as I love delving into the day's discourse, can we please save the idealistic and high-minded debate over the morality of sending a truck bomb into the offices of the United States until after we send a truck bomb into the office? What the fuck? Don't blame me. I voted for Hamas. Okay. Yeah, so the guy's got very violent thoughts going on there. Okay. Zay Squirrel tweet. Absolutely insane. Let's go. Yaron Lichinsky was not even Jewish. He was a crazed Christian Zionist freak who volunteered to serve in the Israeli rape army and then did propaganda for them at the embassy. This makes calling him an anti-Semitic attack doubly deranged and actually the height of anti-Semitism by conflating Israel and non-Jewish Israelis with all Jews. And of course, the entire media and political class is doing it with utter glee so they can... Where was the event that he went to? He went to the Capital Jewish Museum to an event hosted by the American Jewish Committee. Bro, do you think he actually selected these people? Do you think he gathered fucking intel on these people? These guys are nobodies. He actually went to serve in the IDF. He does have a Jewish dad as well, by the way. And did he convert? Did he convert or no? He was following the organization on Twitter. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I know he targeted the event, but these two individuals in particular? Because the event seems like a pretty inoffensive event, no? A networking event where they talk about aid and humanitarian diplomacy and multi-faith alliances. What are we talking about? Unless we know that he targeted the individuals because these people were walking outside. And of course, the entire media and political class is doing it with utter glee so they can launder genocidal Zionist propaganda. Okay, dude. Okay. As a Christian myself in 2021, okay. Is it okay to kill him? Per Zionist Western media and political class standards, it is not only okay, but praiseworthy. Holy shit! Zay Squirrel with the mask off. Holy shit. Okay. But Jews should definitely feel safe in the diaspora. I mean, wow. Wow. Okay. The Hasan subreddit has been quite interesting right now. I don't know if I need to archive some of their posts because holy shit. Please remember that Reddit does not allow the celebration of violence in any way, and of course, someone is reporting almost every comment in here, even though they do not break the content policy, and yes, I will be reporting them for report abuse. So just be aware that your comment will be reported and evaluated by an AI. This AI was implemented before it was ready because of Musk's complaints, so please appeal, okay? It is perfectly fine for you to not give a fuck, though, and to talk about how they should have expected this. That is not the same as saying they deserve it. From a mod. Why should they have expected this, man? Is it okay to fucking murder the kneecap guys for saying up Hezbollah? What the fuck? Because I would say no. I would say if you want to support Hamas and Hezbollah in the United States, you have a First Amendment right to do that. Okay. They should have expected this. These people are fucking disgusting, man. Do you see this as an endorsement? Of course it's a fucking endorsement. For some of them, it's an open endorsement. What we got in the tabloids. What are the tabloids saying?
But I'm not Mr. False Flag at all, but every single thing that he did in the aftermath of the shooting is so fucking crazy that it's you could not have fucking designed a incident like this. You could not have designed a better false flag incident like this. I'm not saying it is a false flag incident at all. I'm not saying that. I think this is just a one dude who is genuine
Holy shit.
in his actions and maybe, you know, a little bit brain broken. Okay.
Okay. Sure, bro. Ethan Klein on Instagram this morning. As you watch Hasan fans and Twitter leftists celebrate the murder of 2 innocent Israelis, understand that me and Ela are just as valid targets to them. I've known this as people like Hasan and Idabs lecture me about hallucinating threats. I knew this the moment I landed Leftovers. Why would I want to be a member of that community that would literally cheer on my death? There's a toxic, violent, nihilistic extremism brewing on the left, and it should scare all of us.
Think like...
Okay, Mayor Larry, I know that you're like the same person who keeps making new accounts because you talk in exactly the same way. Saying Lonerbox won't talk about the 29 Palestinians who starved to death in the last few days, according to Reuters. How many fucking times on my stream have I spoken about the aid plan that Israel's doing and the blockage and how fucking horrible it is and how they deserve like every fucking response that they're getting from the European Union right now for not resuming aid, actually? How many fucking times have I told you that? Just because I'm not responding to every single chatter and their personal story that they want to talk about. Holy fuck.
Think like this will never happen, but in a totally just world, any kind of, regardless of your background, any kind of fucking Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a fucking rabid neo-Nazi. And you shouldn't even let someone be the fucking local dog catcher as Felix was posting if they've ever exhibited any sort of like positive feelings about the state of Israel. I'm so serious about this. Bernie Sanders is just he has this like old labor Zionist framework, I think, that is just utterly ridiculous, and that is something that he hasn't been able to shake away.
And if there is something that you should preach, it's that these people are ultimately fucking useless, and you're gonna have to do shit yourself.
Yeah,
So what does that look like?
Here's the thing. I
Heard of
I
Mario's
understand.
brother?
What?
Sorry, go ahead, Hasan.
No, I understand that.
Cute. Totally normal. Totally normal to do that on YouTube, guys.
People living in the West have
Whoa.
the most power over anyone else in the world to stop the genocide. We are living in the belly of the beast. We have direct geographical, physical access to the politicians, the propagandists, the weapons.
This would have been wiped. This would have been wiped forever had I not caught this. Oh God. Well done, guys. Well done.
Companies and the supply chains that are facilitating this genocide. Protesting is great. We should keep doing that. But also, I feel like we have to be honest with ourselves. 17 months in, and what is protesting actually accomplished? Raising awareness, sure. Divestment, yeah, in some places. But really, politically, materially, nothing. Israel just killed the most children in its history in a single night with total impunity, with a deafening silence among the Western media. If we want this genocide to stop, it's time to escalate. That's all I'm saying. People living in the West have the most...
That's all I'm saying.
Smart move on not covering current events, by the way.
Hey, where'd you get that clip from? Hey.
Smart move on not covering current events, by the way. You mean specific current events or in general? Because, yeah, I think 2 pro-peace Jews dead. Read what they were saying. Pro-peace is crazy.
What was she saying? Do we know? Do we know anything that she said? Does anyone have anything that she was saying? He said some stuff that would obviously make these guys fucking furious because, like, what's this? WAPO. What do I need to... What? What am I doing? What? Does Noah know? No, he probably just glanced the fucking Z-Squirrel thread. Not that it fucking matters, mate. You can't just kill people because of what they're saying. They were embassy employees, exiting the museum. Possible hate crime, terrorist. What am I doing with this article? Is there anything new here? The guy is called Elias Rodriguez. Is it Elias or Elias? I think it's Elias, right? Pacing back and forth outside the museum before the incident. After allegedly shooting the couple, he entered the museum where he was detained by security, she said. Police initially said at the news conference that Rodriguez was 30, but later confirmed he is 31. Wow. Okay, he's 31, guys. Fuck. It's interesting that, like, you know, people say that 40 beheaded babies was the pretext. 40 beheaded babies was the pretext for genocide. Couldn't you just say, couldn't you, and I'm not going to do this because I don't give a fuck, but like, because it's not really accurate. Like, they would have done exactly what they were doing had, like, no one under 18 been killed. But okay, it's not really how wars and costs his belly works. But when people say 40 beheaded babies was the pretext for genocide, couldn't you also say that the UN's claims, or it wasn't even the UN, the media's claims of 14,000 babies are going to die in 2 days? Isn't that like pretext for people doing crazy shit like this, if you believe that logic? Police believe the suspect targeted the event, but had not singled out any individual before arriving at the scene, according to a person familiar with the investigation who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. He just got whoever came out at that moment. Oh, so he randomly went for them. Okay. Yeah, he did not give a fuck. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? Because there's no way these two would be your prime targets. Unless, it's interesting because in the online sphere, I wouldn't be surprised if a terrorist didn't actually go after a Kahanist or a settler, but rather they just went for someone who was like a social democratic, like opposes the settlers and the West Bank expansion and wants 2 states, but also hates Hamas and thinks some of the military action by the IDF is justified. I think they'd probably go for someone like that because that's the people that they talk about the most. I think the settlers and the Kahanists are just kind of like, they're off scot-free from a lot of these types. So far it looks like he didn't actually single out any individual. Okay. Horrific details reveal Elias Rodriguez's continued shooting Sarah Milgrim as she tried to crawl away, executing her in cold blood. Where's this from? Where's this document from? MPD officers were able to review surveillance video from immediately before and during the shooting that captured the exterior of the museum. In summary, the video shows a slim-built person wearing a blue jacket with a hood, large dark-colored backpack, blue pants, and light-colored shoes, consistent with the clothing worn by Rodriguez, walking across F Street Northwest in the direction of the museum and where the descendants were standing, preparing to enter the crosswalk. Once Rodriguez walked past the descendants and the 2 witnesses, he turned to face their backs and brandished a firearm from the area of his waistband. Rodriguez is captured on the video, extending both his arms in the direction of the decedents and firing. Hang on. Fuck me. Give me pronunciation.
Decedent.
Decedent. Oh, because they're dead. Jesus Christ. Of the decedents and firing several times, not the decadents. Jesus. He turned to face their backs and brandished a firearm from the area of his waistband. He's captured on the video, extending both his arms in the direction of the decedents and firing several times, as indicated by the muzzle flashes. Once the decedents fell to the ground, Rodriguez is captured on the video, advancing closer to the decedents, leaning over them with his arm extended and firing several more times. As decedent 1 attempted to crawl away from Rodriguez, he followed behind her and fired again. After a brief moment, Rodriguez appeared to reload his firearm. At the same time, decedent 1 sat up. Once he reloaded, Rodriguez fired several times at decedent 1. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Holy shit. That guy really wanted her to die. Apparently this is her talking, Sarah Milgrim. Apparently this is her talking 8 years ago about anti-Semitism. Is it? Wait.
Because walking creates 0 emissions.
Excuse me?
Because bicycles don't have
what the actual
tailpipes.
fuck?
Because sharing a ride
Why
cuts
is it?
your emissions in half.
What's it doing?
Carpool, bus, bike, or walk.
What? Hang on.
Sarah's a wonderful girl, and she was as close to perfect as any human could be. She had a passion for learning, she had a passion for the environment, and she had a passion for Israel. And she was recently very much in love with Yaron.
Tell me about that relationship.
They met soon after Sarah began work at the embassy, at the Israeli embassy. She started in November, right after the October 7th war broke out in 2023. They met fairly on and dated, and their relationship grew, and they made each other very happy. We've spent, Nancy, my wife, and I, Sarah's mom and I, have spent a lot of time with Yaron, and we grew to love him also. And they were perfect for each other. And this Sunday, they were to fly to Israel so that Sarah can meet Yaron's family and parents and family. And
What happened to the shooter? He was arrested.
we assumed that the relationship was very serious, and we assumed there would be marriage sometime, but we did not know that Yaron had bought her an engagement ring.
Okay. She talks here. This is her from 8 years ago, right?
And antisemitism discovered in Johnson County.
It's so ignorant that you would bring up a symbol like that that brings so much pain to a lot of people.
And tonight, students believe a heated rivalry is what may have led to this hateful graffiti.
New at 10, 41 Action News reporter Lexi Suter filed this report as she talked to students earlier tonight.
Oh, is this her? Okay.
It's so ignorant that you would bring up a symbol like that that brings so much pain to a lot of people, and it's not okay.
This is the first time senior Sarah Milgrim has felt unsafe at school.
You know, I worry about going to my synagogue, and now I have to worry about safety at school, and that shouldn't be a thing.
Oh, shit,
The district is investigating the vandalism and has narrowed down 8 to 10 students who could face criminal consequences. Friday marked the end of a 4-week community service competition between Shawnee Mission East and Shawnee Mission South. Students believe the ongoing rivalry triggered the hateful messages.
I think the rivalry is ridiculous. Yeah, we were raising money and supplies. We were like competing with each other to sort of have a positive thing come from the rivalry.
These words and pictures have since been cleaned up, but the hurt felt by many cannot be washed away.
I hope that they learn their lesson, and I hope they learn to be more tolerant people and nicer people.
Lexi Suter, 41 Action News.
Wow, that's quite insane. Apparently, she was involved in a group called Tech to Peace, a group that brought together Israelis and Palestinians in the tech industry. Apparently, she was warm, compassionate, committed to peace building, and passionate about sustainability and people-to-people relations. Read what they said. Read what they said. What? Okay. The fuck did she say, dude? What the actual fuck did she say? I'm tired, boss. Very tired. Wow. I thought Ethan Klein was just imagining it. So the fact that they were Israeli embassy workers as well wouldn't be relevant in the slightest, because that event wasn't just for embassy workers, was it? They just happened to be embassy workers. He had no fucking idea who he was targeting, as far as we know. Hasan tells his audience to lock in and stop Fed posting. Bro, you did this, Hasan. If you are upset by the way that your audience is behaving, this is what you did. This is you reaping everything that you fucking sow. What are you talking about? You don't get to say Zionism is Nazism. Zionists are Nazis. Everyone who I perceive to be a Zionist is Nazi. Everyone who's like fucking center-left, supports a two-state solution, thinks it's a genocide, thinks settlers are military targets, is still a Zionist to me, and is still a Nazi to me, is still racist to me. Nothing works. Protesting doesn't work. Funding shit doesn't work. Nothing works. Just... but what did we do in the past? Oh, well, Mandela was a terrorist, same way Hamas are terrorists. And, the only way we've ever achieved anything in history was through apparently randomly fucking killing people with the loosest connection to the thing that we're angry about. And you act surprised when your audience just is less fucking media savvy than you when they talk about reacting to these things, even though you give them every single stage that builds up to this logical conclusion. You give them everything. They're just following you to the logical conclusion. The fact that you don't, and it's really jarring for you, like, that's on you. That's your fault.
Chatter, are you crazy? Chatter goes, yo, use this as your blast off meme. No, I'm not going to do that, okay? Missed therapy appointment, so now I have to pay extra, and we're here. What is this? You about to be arrested? For what? Having a fucking fat cock? Don't think that's illegal. True. All right. Osama bin Ballin blast off. Can you get through the news before 3 p.m. when I see the new Mission Impossible streamer, man? No. Should I use Tyrese Halliban? Should I do that? I don't... No, dude, I can't... Yeah, I'm not going to use this, dude. Y'all are so stupid. Give me... Okay, guys.
It's like, it's not even like he's against it. He's just against it for optical reasons. That's it. Like, he likes it. Like, he would do it in a room without windows, but... Okay.
This is not like...
He's basically being like, don't do this because people are watching. It's so fucking... It's so insane.
A time to be fucking... it's not a time for you to say fun, wild, edgy things. Okay? There are probably 1,000 people in the chat currently documenting every single thing that you guys are saying in an effort to basically tie it back to me and this community and rob it of its context or anything like that.
Rob it of its context. Okay.
And to try to get me fucking deplatformed. Like, lock in. Stop Fed posting. It's not time for memes. Just because you're anonymous doesn't mean you will stay anonymous. All this stuff. Okay?
He's literally just saying, like, don't do this because people are watching. You're such a fucking evil person. Oh my God. He's actually so disgusting, man. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about as what? So if no one was watching, if no one was there to clip you, like, it would be okay for people to celebrate that? Holy shit. He's literally just telling them to mask on. Did we see Vaush's reaction? No. Response to the ADL call out. Israel is an apartheid state doing a live streamed genocide. Wow. I think it's wrong and dangerous to conflate these heinous actions with Jews. He's so fucking retarded, man. Again, if you believe that, then you have to also logically believe that Jews do this to themselves, because most Jews do feel some kind of connection to Israel. Most Jews in America would identify with Zionists or would identify with positions that would get you calling them a Zionist. So the Apartheid Defense League doesn't, because they think they can improve Israel's standing by silencing its critics, it won't change the truth. Wow. Dan thinks he was a Twitch user. Is this true? I would like to see evidence of a claim so strong. Doxing, Kanye's done with antisemitism. Well done. The shooter is a Will Stansel hater. Who is that? Don't know who that is. Hang on, let me see. Okay. Hasan having an I could shoot someone in Fifth Avenue and they'd still love me moment. Kind of, yeah. Kind of. This is the video of it. Of him getting caught.
No. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
And this is after he's just fucking murdered 2 people. Wow. Bro, the logic that these guys are using, these fucking apologists, is like, does that mean that the next time a Palestinian gets hate crimed, people can blame him for associating this act of terror with Palestine? Do you understand how fucking stupid that is? Anyway. Someone said from Hamas. I know, eh? This is the thing. This is the FBI's affidavit. All right, I guess I'll read this. Criminal complaint, murder of foreign officials. The facts set forth in this affidavit are based on information I have obtained from my personal involvement in the investigation. Okay. Agent background, federal law enforcement officer. Good for you, buddy. Good for you. Venue. Acts in furtherance of the offences alleged herein occurred within the District of Columbia. On May 21st, 2025, Rodriguez shot and killed 2 individuals outside of 575 3rd Street Northwest, Washington, D.C., which is site of the Capitol Jewish Museum. The museum was hosting an event related to Jewish diplomatic and business relations, hosted by the American Jewish Committee that aimed to bring together Jewish young professionals and the D.C. diplomatic community. The event was attended by several members of the United States-based Israeli diplomatic mission. On Wednesday, 21st, 2025, at approximately 9:08 p.m., members of the Metropolitan Police Department, 1st District, were dispatched to investigate a shooting at the intersection of 3rd and F Streets, Northwest, Washington, D.C. Upon the officers arriving at the scene, the officers observed Decedent 1 and Decedent 2 suffering from gunshot wounds. Decedent 1, identified as Sarah Milgrim, was employed by the Embassy of Israel in Washington, D.C. The preliminary review of Decedent 1's remains showed that she suffered multiple gunshot wounds to the body. Decedent 1 was transported from the scene by the District of Columbia's Fire and Emergency Medical Services to the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner for the District of Columbia. Decedent 1 was pronounced dead at 9:35 by DCFEMS members and under the authority of Dr. Wittberg. The results of the autopsy of Decedent 1 are pending. Pirro's going to sentence him to the electric chair. What? Judge Jeanine Pirro. Put him in a field and airstrike. Is that what you'll call for? Decedent 2, identified as Yaron Lichinsky, was employee of the Embassy of Israel in Washington, D.C. Decedent 2 was pronounced deceased dead by members on the scene under the authority of Dr. Wittberg at 9:14 p.m. Decedent 2 remained on the scene during the initial processing until members of the OCME conducted their preliminary investigation of his remains. The results of the autopsy of Decedent 2 are pending. Decedent 2 was an Israeli citizen. According to the Department of State, Decedent 2, based on his official visa, was an official guest of the United States government. Upon arriving at the scene, MPD Officer 1 canvassed the area for cameras and observed several affixed to the museum. Officer 1 and his partner, Officer 2, entered the building to inquire about the cameras to identify witnesses. Once inside, Rodriguez was asked to speak with the officer. Rodriguez then stated that he did it and that he was unarmed. Rodriguez was taken into custody and identified by Illinois driver's license and firearms owner identification card as Elias A. Rodriguez. Rodriguez spontaneously stated on the scene to MPD, "I did it for Palestine, I did it for Gaza, I am unarmed." Bro, you did not do shit for Palestine, you just killed 2 people, but okay. Rodriguez was holding a red scarf identified by one witness as a keffiyeh. As MPD officers were escorting Rodriguez from the museum, he shouted, "Free Palestine." On scene, multiple witnesses were identified and interviewed. Witness 1 stated that they were outside of the Jewish museum sitting in a car when they saw a male, later identified as Rodriguez, wearing a blue hooded raincoat and backpack attempting to light a cigarette in the rain. They found his behavior strange, captured their attention. Prior to the shooting, they saw 4 people walking out of the Jewish museum, and soon after, Witness 1 heard gunshots. They ducked down. After the gunshots ceased, looked again. They saw that Rodriguez motioning as if he was attempting to shoot the firearm, but it was not firing. Rodriguez then ran away. They then observed Rodriguez's motion with his arm as if he was throwing an object. Witness 1 later explained that police located a firearm in the vicinity of where Witness 1 observed Rodriguez making the throwing motion. After MPD arrived, Witness 1 observed police officers walk Rodriguez out of the museum, commented to MPD that the person they had in custody was the same guy, okay. Stated that they were 70% certain that Rodriguez was the same person, but that W1 was certain the backpack and the jacket were what the assailant was wearing. On scene, MPD officers were able to review surveillance video from immediately before and during the shooting that captured the exterior of the museum. In summary, the video shows a slim-built person wearing a blue jacket and a hood, a large dark-colored backpack, blue pants, and light-colored shoes, consistent with the clothing worn by Rodriguez walking across F Street, northwest in the direction of the museum, and where the decedents were standing, preparing to enter the crosswalk. Once Rodriguez walked past the decedents and 2 witnesses, he turned to face their backs and brandished a firearm at the area of his waistband. And this is where he shoots them and seems to shoot the girl even when she's fucking crawling along the floor. Okay. They recovered numerous items of evidence, which included 21 expended cartridge casings. Okay. Handgun. During an interview with MPD detectives, after having been advised of his Miranda rights and after waiving them, Rodriguez expressed admiration for the actions of an individual who self-immolated in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. on February 25, 2024, as a form of protest intended to draw attention to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Rodriguez described this person's actions as courageous and labeled him as a martyr. Rodriguez also stated that he had purchased a ticket to the event at the museum approximately 3 hours prior to its commencement. According to airline records provided by United Airlines on May 20, 2025, Rodriguez flew from Chicago O'Hare Airport in Illinois to Reagan National Airport in Virginia. Additionally, according to records provided by United Airlines, he declared and flew with a firearm in his checked baggage, crossed state lines with a firearm. Okay. Well, that's your guy, I guess. Shit. He flew into DC from Chicago. Yeah, I think he wanted to choose like something because it's next to the building's near the Israeli embassy, right? It's like next to the embassy. Quite weird that he targeted a Jewish event, though. I mean, Preston Stewart followed you on Twitter. Wow, soy. 2 of the best media personalities for understanding the modern world conflicts and current events. Oh, cute. Beautiful. Well, I mean, Mike from PA.
You are justified in attempting citizen's arrest. This is not my idea, by the way.
Okay.
On war crimes and genocide,
Michael Moore.
Everyone has the right to arrest or detain a criminal. And defending genocide is the same thing as doing it.
Is that based on legal precedent, Mike?
Universal jurisdiction is a legal principle allowing states to prosecute individuals for certain serious crimes such as
states,
genocide, war crimes, and crime against humanity, regardless of where the crime occurred or the nationality of the perpetrator or victim.
He's just reading a fucking AI.
Every single human being in the entire
overview.
planet has the right to try to effectuate a citizen's arrest under the principle of universal jurisdiction for crimes against humanity. Aiding, advocating, and abetting genocide is a crime. And so therefore, every human being is instantly deputized in the entire world to take means to arrest that person and take them to The Hague.
Can you imagine? Who's he talking about?
That's my opinion on that. So Destiny's reaction to evidence that's irrefutable, that backs up what Palestinians say about how the Israeli military treats them, is to launch into some unhinged conspiracy theory about how they wanted to farm TikTok clips. What the fuck is he talking about? Now, one of the things that's really cool about war crimes.
Yeah, so he wants the citizens arrest. Okay. Bro, just to be clear, any Mike from PA fans watching, all three of you or whatever who are always in here shitting your pants, you will get charged with kidnapping if you attempt to do this, just so you know. In pretty much any country. So good luck with that. Apparently he wants Hutch arrested too. Yeah. Imagine Mike from PA marching some fucking kidnapped YouTuber to The Hague, and they just throw their laptop on the ground with all the fucking snark clips. God. The thing is like, doesn't Mike support October 7th? Doesn't he support war crimes? Can you not arrest him? You don't even need to take him to The Hague. You just take him to the American authorities because they'll deal with it. God. Everyone's just going to citizens arrest each other. Again, I don't know about Hutch or Destiny, although I'm quite confident. At least I can talk for myself. I've never supported any organization that targets civilians. I've never supported the targeting of civilians as actions. Anytime when IDF soldiers or the IDF have done that, I condemn it. I don't, like, that's why I don't glaze the IDF, because they do commit war crimes. These guys support it all the time. They support the movements that do it, and they support the actions. They support it when the Houthis do it. They support it when Hezbollah does it. They support it when Hamas does it. Like, these guys actually do it. So, I mean, bro, citizens arrest. Just asking for it, man. Nab Hill, I know you might, I don't know if you need like a fucking real man to help you move those goalposts in a more convincing way, like to a further distance. Give me one example where I've ever celebrated or defended like the IDF as they target civilians. These guys celebrate it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Uh-oh. I think that was meant as sarcasm. Oh yeah, maybe.
This person was Jewish and he was killed for being Jewish or whatever the fuck. Like, no, he wasn't. He was not Jewish. He was a German Christian. Okay.
Again, the person targeted a Jewish institution with a Jewish event. But okay. I'm one of the. Okay. What is this?
Hi there, Doctor. Listen, I just wondered if you could take care of it. He's gone nuts. Get off! You need to section him. He's out of his mind. What? I'm not out of my mind. I just need to give you some documents. He's a loony. He was running around with his cock out before saying it was on fire. He's lost it. He thinks there's a pigeon in Catalonia that's in control of his legs. I really don't. Jeremy, tell him.
Well, I don't know. I mean, mostly he's okay, but maybe you should keep him in for observation just for a couple of days.
Jeremy!
You were defending the IDF taking control of Gaza. Like, I don't know how many fucking times I had to say. I'm just going to assume that you're in bad faith. First of all, one, occupying Gaza is not the same as targeting civilians for goalposts. But two, I believe my take was if the two options that are realistically going to happen are Israel occupies Gaza now versus when and Hamas surrenders versus Israel occupies Gaza after another 6 months to a year of brutal fucking conflict and then Hamas gives up and then it becomes occupied anyway, I would choose the former. Somehow, apparently, like in that world where those are the two most likely outcomes, I'd prefer the first one without 6 months to a year of more brutal conflict. Apparently that's me supporting targeting civilians. Fucking eat all the grass, okay? Grass is bad for you. It fucks your teeth. I want you to eat your entire body weight in grass. Jesus Christ.
Look, if there's anyone who's going nuts here, it's not me, it's you! That they could section you for trying to section me!
If you try to section me, Mark, you'll have crossed the line and I will section you, so help me.
Look, guys.
This is how the citizen's arrest would go, isn't it? That's how the citizen's arrest would take place. Good one. I mean, what else? Are there any counter arguments? Are there what else is the other side saying? Might be worth knowing what their takes are. Do we know anything else about this event? What was the event called again? Just so I got my terms right. It was the Capital Jewish Museum, and the event was called the Young Diplomats Reception. American Jewish Committee Access, Young Diplomats. What a strange event to target. Like, what the fuck? What an absolutely bizarre choice. Brings together young Jewish professionals. I'm sorry, I thought Zionism and antisemitism were completely unrelated. Why would you target this event? Wild. Am I missing something? What am I missing? FBI trying to find the motive. Okay. It would be like if Luigi just targeted a random person coming out of, like a health insurance worker, like a worker for one of the companies. God. Okay, Ryan Grimm, let's go.
At a time like this, the kind of state consequences for any organization that's remotely associated with them.
Of course.
You know, when you're trying to when you're trying to say that somebody like Mahmoud Khalil is a terrorist who was all about peaceful coexistence and reconciliation and just protesting against violence, when the state is willing to detain him indefinitely without charge and call him a terrorist when he is completely peaceful in what he's doing, to then associate yourself with him and take it upon yourself to commit these acts of violence against civilians.
Again, doesn't justify anything the state did to Mahmoud Khalil, but he did have like sympathies for Hamas. Like, it seemed like he was fairly in favor of October 7th. But again, that's his First Amendment right. That's not like, I don't know why you need to lie about someone to defend them in that way, but okay.
It is also taking an action that, to me, you don't even have the right to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you consider yourself part of a movement. Like, if you're either part of a movement or you're some atomistic element of some neoliberal, vigilante.
Yeah.
And which is a reactionary right-wing approach.
That is absolutely accurate. And of course, immediately people are theorizing that it's a false flag, not because there's any evidence of that. There is no evidence of that, but because of how clearly damaging it is.
Right.
How clearly damaging it is at a time when, to your point, you have this administration that is using any excuse they can to effectively criminalize dissent from the status quo with regard to Israel. When you just had this incident we're going to cover later in the show of the IDF firing on diplomats from all around the world and, creating a massive diplomatic crisis for itself, separate and apart from the crisis of legitimacy from starving and bombing Palestinians and killing so many in what has been a mass slaughter over the past number of days. They certainly want to paint anyone who objects to that as an extremist, a barbarian, an anti-Semite, a terrorist themselves. And this will only give succor to, the people who would use this incident to, further crush dissent and wield the power of the state to make sure that no one can object to what is being done in our names with our monies and with our money in Gaza.
I really don't like this. We condemn it primarily because it's unproductive. That's really fucking weird to me, but who knows? What is this? Shane, a hero, and he's a Hasan fan. Okay, Hasan fan calling the guy a hero. Beautiful. We love those. Did they have me blocked? Oh no. Vegan empanada enjoyer. Rip Fred Hampton's Thomas Sankara. Twink piece 18 plus. This guy is like, how fucking white is. Unbelievable. Hey, there's Yair Golan. God, this guy is a fucking rampant tweeter. Holy shit. Okay. Hasan fan supports that. Nice one. Oh, this is that electronic intifada nutcase. Do you know what it's reminding me of? It's reminding me of a very interesting take, and I wonder what he would say about this now. If this video is still here. Does he just tweet now? He hasn't made a video in 2 years. Where's his Lauren Southern video? Unless he streams. He might stream. He did a Lauren Southern video, which I actually thought was pretty decent, but where is it? The Quartering versus Ethan Klein. Okay. Was it really 5 years ago now? Where are we? Am I just not seeing it because there's too much information in these thumbnails? Is it gone? Is this video? Why is it gone? That was a good video. What the fuck? But the surfs covered it. Okay.
With our good friend.
Okay, where is it? It's somewhere here, right? Where he talks about ecosystems or something.
Room, not just for one day, but for like at least a week and a half.
Thanks, partner.
Clean up your room.
No, that notification is going to ruin this final sequence, which is really good. Let me turn it off.
No. Individually, I don't think it's fair or realistic to pin the blame squarely on her. It takes a whole ecosystem of groups and key individuals to inspire acts like that. More than I can possibly fit in this scrolling set of pictures. But yes, she was a key player inside that ecosystem. She was Clean up your redwood. We can't really know. So for the most part, I leave the facts as they are, and you do what you will with them. To be fair, there's probably a decent handful of people and groups who influence them far more, but does that even matter when she pushed so many of the same ideas as others we do know influenced him along with those people? Does it even matter when we can see so many commonalities between his manifesto and her everyday discourse and work?
Hi everybody, back with our good friend Lauren Southern. She is the author of Barbarians, How the Baby Boomers, Immigration and Islam Screwed My Generation.
He called them invaders, she called them barbarians and savages. They both believed humanitarian NGOs.
So this is what I thought that kind of statement was quite well put. It's not about picking someone to blame or finding out who his favorite Twitch channel was or anything like that. It's more about who is pushing the same kind of rhetoric and ideas that result in those outcomes. But it makes me wonder what he's saying about it right now. If he's saying anything, I haven't seen him tweet. I'm horrified by the murder of 2 Israeli embassy staffers at an event in DC last night. The fact that the gunman said he did it to free Palestine makes me nauseous. Murdering people for their nationality is abhorrent. This violence hurts Jews, Israelis, and Palestinians. He's consistent. It's a retweet, but I guess it shows the sentiment. The ADL defends Israel against charges of apartheid. They've done so for decades and continue to do it this way. It's not just a fun, snappy meme. It's just what they are. So he's reply guying. That's it. All right. Hasan's chat during the reading of the manifesto.
All of these figures are almost surely a criminal undercount. I have no trouble believing the estimates.
Oh, did he have to? He had to turn chat to emotes only.
That put the toll at 100,000 or more.
What a fucking coward, man! Like, please, just what an unbelievable fucking coward! Like, show us. I want to see what like your rhetoric leads your community to do. Like, you influence these people. You are an influencer first and foremost.
More have been murdered since March of this year than in the Protective Edge and Kaslet put together. These are 2 previous sieges that Israel implemented on Gaza in the past. Okay. Can one say?
Okay. Brilliant. I'm tired, boss. I'm just tired. Okay. That movie was so bad. What? The Green Mile? What the fuck? Here's a witness talking.
I did see somebody run in. The security guard happened to let this guy in. I guess they were thinking that he was a victim. And he was covered in rain. He was clearly in trauma. He was in shock. And, some of the people at the event brought him water. They sat him down. Are you okay? Were you shot? What happened? And he's like, somebody call the cops, bring the cops in. So about 10 minutes later, when the cops actually came in, he said, I did this. He said, sir, I'm unarmed. He put his hands up. He grabbed a red keffiyeh out of his pocket and started the Free Palestine chants. There's only one solution, Intifada revolution. And he was being dragged out of the building as he was yelling Free Palestine. And he kept yelling Free Palestine. I, tried to hand him his keffiyeh back because I didn't really realize that he murdered 2 people. About 5-10 minutes later, we start to gather more data. It turns out he was in the building with us for like 15 minutes. Thank God he left the gun in the bushes outside, or he left the gun outside. And we found out that I think it was 2 people from the embassy that were murdered in cold blood. And obviously this is a secondary source, but my friend was actually watching the security footage, and he murdered somebody, executed them from the back, 5-10 shots. I don't know about the man that was killed or shot. I don't know if that's confirmed yet. but it's disgusting. I don't think any acts of...
Whoa. Okay. Well, what is that about ecosystems? He believes their talking points. He uses their slogans. I mean, you know, Intifada, like that kind of did happen. That kind of shit, those kinds of killings did happen in the Intifada. Like it's a large feature of it, actually, but okay. All right, fuck that. I'm going to play video games. Fucking waste of time. The thing is, it's like when someone murdered that Palestinian child in October 2023 in America, like there was no debate. Everyone knew what it was. They blamed Islamophobia. They blamed like collective blame, like the collective blame of the bigot onto the person, and that was it. It was done. Yeah, the landlord. Yeah, like there was no ifs or buts. Like nothing. Right? I don't recall anyone saying that. Like maybe right wingers said it, and I missed it, but I don't recall anyone that would ever, at least come in the sphere that I interact with, being like, well, we have to consider the actions of Hamas were reprehensible and they have put a bad name on Palestinians. Like, no one's ever... I've never seen that before. But now just like we have this completely new standard. It's really weird. Very inconsistent. Very unserious, you might say. Even Ben Shapiro never said that. Did he not? Oh, no.
An American man screamed, "Free, free Palestine," after shooting and killing 2 Israelis in Washington, D.C. last night. Here's what we know so far to include a look at what is believed to be the shooter's manifesto. So starting with a report from the Associated Press, they say 2 staff members of the Israeli embassy in Washington were shot and killed Wednesday evening while leaving an event at a Jewish museum, and the suspect yelled, "Free, free Palestine," after he was arrested. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar identified the victims as Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgrim. Lashinsky was a research assistant, and Milgrim organized visits and missions to Israel. They say they were leaving an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum when the suspect approached a group of 4 people and opened fire. That's according to the Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela Smith. They say that the suspect, Elias Rodriguez, 31 years old, of Chicago, was observed pacing outside the museum before the shooting, and then after the shooting, walked into the museum and was detained by event security. And we do have pictures of Rodriguez being detained by the police. Police Chief Pamela Smith said that when he was taken into custody, he began chanting, "Free, free Palestine," which of course suggests that this was carried out either directly or in part due to the ongoing Israeli
Preston, the Azov cheerleader. Let's go.
War in Gaza. Now, looking at some of the reactions here, President Trump put out a statement saying, quote, "These horrible DC killings, based obviously on anti-Semitism, must end now. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the United States. Condolences to the families of the victims. So sad that such a thing as this can happen. God bless you all." Then Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has put out a couple different statements at this point. This one here says, quote, "We are witnessing the terrible price of anti-Semitism and wild incitement against the state of Israel. The blood libels against the Jewish state are rising in blood, and they must be fought to the bitter end. My heart breaks for the families of the beloved young men and women who were brutally murdered by a despicable anti-Semitic terrorist. I've instructed security officials to strengthen protection against arrangements for Israeli missions around the world and to raise the level of security for all state envoys. We will defeat hatred, and we will not let terrorism defeat life." Now, I should mention that this attack comes amidst an Israeli buildup, an increase in Israeli military operations in the Gaza Strip that we've seen slowly progress over the course of recent days. We also had news just earlier today that Israeli negotiators are withdrawing from ongoing talks with Hamas because Hamas continues to draw a hard line on what they believe are unacceptable demands. So the war is escalating in a couple different ways, and this comes right in the midst of that. Now, turning to some more pro-Palestinian responses here that are also very much against what happened. One of my favorite people here, Ahmed Faoud Al-Khatib, a Gazan who has family members still living in Gaza, very much pro-Palestine, very much anti-Hamas and anti-violence to resolve any of these issues. He put out a statement saying, quote, "While there are many legitimate voices who are advocating for Palestinian rights and aspirations, the Palestinian issue and cause have tragically and..."
I feel like people who hate this guy is just like, it's the ultimate litmus test. Like people who call themselves pro-Palestine, but they have an issue with this guy, I just find very fucking bizarre. I can understand not liking John Aziz because he's like kind of cringe, but bro, if you're taking it to this guy, like you need some fucking You need looked at, I think.
Painfully become a dumping ground for violent terrorists and deranged scum across the world, attracting foul personalities and characters seeking a sense of meaning and notoriety.
Get me in the blizzard.
How can the people of Gaza or Palestine possibly benefit from such a heinous, random act of violence?
Fuck.
What if I or non-Israelis in attendance were hurt by the assailant? Violence begets violence. Anti-Semitism is evil and must be rejected.
I can't do it. Fuck it.
Sloganeering and divisive rhetoric can and do have deadly consequences.
Oh, shit.
Incitement and promotion of political violence only ends in chaos, pain, tragedy, and loss for all. Now is a really good time to make it clear that no matter the issue or cause dividing various communities, we must stand in clear and united opposition to political violence of any kind. Anyone seeking to justify what happened tonight or play mental gymnastics in defense of this indefensible act is a legitimate and bona fide terrorist and must be shunned and treated as such. Now, by and large, what I've seen at this point, it is still early, but even some of the folks that have historically trended, crossed that line, in my opinion, from pro-Palestinian to either pro-Hamas or aggressively anti-Israel, some very loud voices, of course, in that camp. I've not seen any support from them for the shooter or for this act. Most have been quiet thus far. That doesn't mean, recording this in the morning shortly after the event took place, doesn't mean they won't come out and say something eventually. But the majority of folks, even in the pro-Palestinian camp, historic pro-Palestinian camp, are coming out saying there's no place for this. This doesn't help anyone. In fact, Cenk Uygur, I know I'm mispronouncing that, of Young Turks, massive platform, right? And he put out a statement saying, quote, "You can't do more harm to the Palestinian cause than by killing Israeli embassy staffers. It's obviously immoral. It makes a whole community feel unsafe. It's also deeply counterproductive because it allows people to frame the whole movement as violent. Deeply stupid." Now, unfortunately, there has been some support of the shooter and his actions, which is not all that surprising. There were terrorist attacks inside of Israel just a couple days ago, and those were being praised. I think there's a woman was stabbed, and that was celebrated on some channels. One of those channels was Gaza Now, which is a large Telegram channel. I think they've been taken down at times on other platforms, but nonetheless, 2-3 million followers, pretty significant audience, reporting news out of the Gaza Strip. And they put out a statement. They put out this picture right here comparing the shooter with since deceased head of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar. And Gaza Now said, quote, "Although he was not a Muslim, his conscience was alive as Yahya Sinwar's. He carried out his heroic operation in the heart of the Israeli embassy in Washington to avenge the children of Gaza, killing 2 Zionist terrorists. And then he sat down firmly, foot by foot, proving that conscience has no religion, but rather a position." And before we dive into the manifesto here, I want to raise the concern about talking about that. And it's the idea that there's been a call to globalize the Intifada and to bring the suffering of Gaza outside of Gaza to the United States, to Europe, wherever it might be. And that's a common theme that we see for a lot of terrorist organizations, right? You have to strike at the heart of the United States or elsewhere. And that's one of the concerns when something like this happens is you never know in the time. We don't know now. But it's the question of, does this spark more violence? Does it open the door to say now violence is acceptable? It's getting enough attention that it outweighs any negatives that might come from it. And you see more people in Rodriguez's camp here standing up and taking that risk, taking to the streets in a violent manner. Or does the way that it is put down and people like Ahmed and others speaking out saying this is doing more harm than good, does that outweigh, does that change the mind of people who otherwise might look at this event and consider doing something themselves?
This is dangerous, very dangerous.
There's no way to know, because you are talking about, when you're talking about people taking to the streets with guns and conducting violence, political violence,
I just have to keep running.
It's not necessarily the most rational group, and it's impossible to know how they're interpreting these events as fuel on the fire or a reason to stop and look a different direction. Now, with that, I do want to get into what we believe at this point is the shooter manifesto. This was published by Ken Klippenstein over on his Substack. I'll be sure to link his Substack and this article in the description below. Of course, worth following. I tend to be in the camp of Ken. here that sunlight is the best disinfectant. You might not see this covered on traditional news outlets because the view would be that even discussing this and sharing this in any way, shape, or form is promoting it and giving it credibility and maybe leading more people to do the same. Maybe it's an optimistic view, but I'm on the other side that I think suppressing this type of information does more harm than good.
Yep.
And we should talk about it openly because you're going to hear some things in just the brief snippets I take out that I think most people will hear and say, oh my God, the dude's crazy. And I think it's good for us to hear that people carrying out acts of political violence are crazy, have a screw loose, in my personal opinion. The manifesto here is titled Explication, and it was supposedly published on May 20th, 2025. And Ken goes into detail as to why he believes this to be genuine, but nonetheless, treat it with a grain of salt because we haven't seen confirmation.
Isn't this posted on his Twitter account as well? Okay.
Pleased at this point. In this long one, I clipped out a couple portions here I thought were relevant. He says, quote, but thus far the rhetoric has not amounted to much. The Israelis themselves boast about their own shock at the free hand the Americans have given them to exterminate the Palestinians. Public opinion has shifted against the genocidal apartheid state, and the American...
Curti Duarte, thanks for £5. Hi, Lonerbox. Do you think if the 1972 Munich massacre happened today, certain contemporary mainstream leftists would celebrate or attempt to justify it? Yeah, I think a minority would celebrate it, and other people would just try to say, like, oh, explaining is not condoning. But, you know, if Israel had just stopped being so genocidal, then, yeah, it's so fucking stupid. Again, I've never heard a left-winger say this about attacks on Muslims, ever. I've never heard them say, like, if only ISIS stopped doing this shit, then there'd be less Islamophobic attack. Or if only the fucking groomers in Rotherham had stopped, then there wouldn't be this, like, cruel conflation of Islam and, like, terrorism. It's so stupid. It is just the most... And the fact that I think left-wingers would call that out immediately and have done it so recently. Maybe, I don't know, if I was more fucking autistic, like if I was Kiwi Farms mode, I think it would be worth having a look through some of these channels and watch how they responded to arguments about like Christchurch and people saying like blaming the Muslims rather than the Islamophobes, because I guarantee that will exist somewhere. Maybe it's in like, could it possibly be at Hasan's debate with Fuentes and Sargon? When it was Hasan and Destiny versus Fuentes and Sargon, and Hasan just threw it, but he just spent most of the time trying to make it about Marxism, so I don't know.
Government has simply shrugged. They'll do without public opinion then. Criminalize it where they can. Suffocate it with bland reassurances that they're doing all they can to restrain Israel where it cannot criminalize protest outright. Aaron Bushnell, the United States Airman, active duty Air Force member that set himself on fire in an act of protest early in the war, Aaron Bushnell and others sacrificed themselves in the hopes of stopping the massacre, and the state works to make us feel their sacrifice was made in vain. And there is no hope in escalating for Gaza, and no point in bringing the war home. We can't let them succeed. Their sacrifices were not made in vain. That's the idea of bringing the violence elsewhere, right? Make others feel the violence that is being felt in a certain part of the world to maybe change a perception. He says, a word about morality of armed demonstration. Those of us against the genocide take satisfaction in arguing that the perpetrators and abettors have forfeited their humanity.
Holy
shit. Anybody in Israel, I mean, based off of who Rodriguez targeted here, to Israelis, then my understanding, no connection to the Israeli Defense Forces, have not operated in the Gaza.
I believe the guy volunteered, but yeah, I mean, it had been a while. It wasn't active, obviously.
The strip. So for him, he's saying the humanity has been forfeited by anybody associated in any way, shape, or form with Israel and with the United States government. I mean, this is broad. And the forfeiting humanity is, I mean, I don't care where you fall on any number of issues, that is dangerous. And it's it was dangerous when we took that approach in World War II. When you look at some of the propaganda, specifically around Japan, a little bit with Germany, but much more with Japan, we dehumanized them.
Oh, yeah.
And it led to a lot of problems here in the United States.
The British fucking pamphlets that they gave to the military about the Japanese. I remember reading one. It was just so fucking... It saw them as like fucking animals. Yeah, it was so weird.
States, and I think we're fortunate to have come out of that, at all, quite frankly. So the dehumanization of anyone in any direction is never a positive step, and that's the direction that Rodriguez is hoping that things go, and saying that he's already gone that direction. He wraps up by saying, I'm glad that today at least there are many Americans for which the action will be highly legible and in some funny way the only sane thing to do.
Jesus.
So for Rodriguez, and he ends with Free Palestine, Elias Rodriguez. So in his perception, this is the only step to take. Protests didn't work. The U.S. government didn't do anything. So therefore, we strip anybody involved with this, forfeits their humanity. And the only sane thing to do is to take up arms, political violence, targeting whoever you want. Now, one key note here, it's not clear at this point if the 2 Israelis that were killed were specifically targeted or if it was more broad, if he was just going after people that he knew to be Israeli, that he knew to be Jewish, that were at this specific event. That's not known right now, but nonetheless, now that he has been detained and is in custody, I expect we'll hear more before too long. But as of now, that's essentially what we know for this tragic incident last night. I expect more news will come out shortly. That's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching.
Was Sarah even Israeli? She might have had dual citizenship, but as far as I knew, she was an American Jew, primarily. This guy's name is Preston Stewart.
And I'll see y'all next time.
Thanks, bro. Okay, she's from Kansas. Yeah, I don't think she's not Israeli born or anything, but has she got Israeli citizenship? Fucking LSF has the chat reading the manifesto bit. Nice one. Well done, boys. Midwestern Jews are real. So I've been told. Isn't it ironic that she's from fucking Kansas and still the person who ends up fucking taking her out is a left-winger? Holy shit. Bro, this is so fucking unreal. Like, how stupid how white does this person have to be? Listen, yes, white. This is a white opinion coming from this person, okay? So they really had to plant a keffiyeh. Do you think keffiyehs are like never used by people who engage in violence? Like, really? The keffiyeh in the context of like Free Palestine and Intifada, you think the keffiyeh like that? There's no way someone who would indiscriminately target like 2 fucking civilians and murder them in cold blood would ever wear a keffiyeh. What the fuck, man? Jesus. I'm gonna melt down. I'm gonna crash out. 12K likes. 12K whites. That person has a PhD from Harvard. Uh-huh. It's the ecosystem. Yeah? Is it? Where'd you get that take from? Yes, I know Trump is halting enrollments for foreign students at Harvard. It's fucking mental. Yeah, that's really bad. That is not the way to deal with that. What's this? Why did they have to plant a keffiyeh? Why did they? Okay. Unbelievable. What, you want to know fucking Vaush's take? Why? If it's not made it to Reddit already, it's probably fine. I don't think Vaush would support shit like that. I think he's smart enough to know all the arguments that he's made about stochastic terrorism and not do this whole, well, Israel is, doing a lot of... The big beautiful bill is halting gender affirming care for all ages. Wow. That's pretty fucked. Let's go here. This is quick editing though. What? Do I need to watch this? Should I just... Oh no. Jeanine Pirro? What's Judge Jeanine saying? We haven't seen her for a while. It's Airstrikes lady. Wait, is she actually the, does she have a role here? Is she Attorney General? She is.
All right, I think we got it. All right.
Oh no.
All right, here we go.
Lady Airstrikes is gonna, oh God. The guy actually is gonna get the proper American dream sentence, isn't he? He is actually gonna get 200 years in the electric chair. Oh God.
Jeanine Pirro, the United States Attorney, welcome. Our community today is reeling as a result of one person's actions. 2 families now are left to grieve for dreams that will never be realized. And as I speak right now, there is an individual who is being presented in court and charged with various crimes.
The airstrike queen.
31-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, Illinois, is now charged by complaint after his initial appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Matthew Sharbaugh with the following: murder in the first degree for the murder of 30-year-old Yaron Levshinsky.
2,000 meals from Moscow based. What's this? Oh, that's a fucking powerful belt. That's what that is. Give it. Get it on me. Put it on me. Also, I want this axe. Thank you. Where's that belt? Goddamn fuck, I needed the bag mod. I need it. I need it bad. Strength, agility, stamina. Hell yeah. Let's go. What an important item. Okay.
A foreign official and official guest of the United States. Mr. Lashinsky was here on official business for the State of Israel. The defendant Rodriguez is also charged with 2 counts of murder in the first degree for both Yaron Lashinsky along with 26-year-old Sarah Lynn Milgrim of Kansas. In addition, there are several felony firearms charges for discharging a firearm in the middle of a violent crime and for causing the death of an individual through the use of that firearm. Now, this investigation is continuing, and as you can see, we have most of the stakeholders here today who will be given an opportunity to speak with you. But what I want to be clear about today, since this is the first time you're hearing from me, is that this is a horrific crime, and these crimes are not going to be tolerated by me and by this office.
Oh, no.
A young couple at the beginning of their life's journey, about to be engaged in another country, had their bodies removed in the cold of the night in a foreign city in a body bag. We are not going to tolerate that anymore. And I am not unaware.
We used to tolerate that kind of behavior under the dastardly Democrats.
Based upon my own background of the repercussions of this kind of case, this is the kind of case that picks at old sores and old scars, because these kinds of cases remind us of what has happened in the past that we can never and must never forget. I want to mention one thing. The Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., where this young couple had been at an event, was built around a brick building. That brick building was previously a synagogue called Adas Israel. It was one of Washington's first synagogues, a congregation that was created in 1869. And Ulysses S. Grant, our president, actually attended the dedication of that synagogue. And so to this day, that synagogue and that area remains a cornerstone of the Jewish community in D.C. Let me also say that violence against anyone based on their religion is an act of cowardice. It is not an act of a hero. It is the kind of case that we will vigorously pursue. Anti-Semitism will not be tolerated, especially in the nation's capital. Now, we're going to continue to investigate this as a hate crime and a crime of terrorism. And we will add additional charges as the evidence warrants.
Oh, damn.
So this charging today is the initial charge. Remember, we're less than 24 hours from the crime itself. And we are working furiously and diligently with our partners behind me. We've got massive amounts of evidence that we are vetting, we are verifying, and we are reviewing. This is the start and not the beginning. And finally...
What? Okay.
Let me say this. President Donald Trump appointed me to this
start,
position.
Not the beginning. Okay.
This is the nation's capital.
I'm dumb.
We should all be proud of this capital. And the president wants D.C. safe. And I and the partners behind me are going to do everything we can to make people proud of this city, whether they're from this city, from the country, or from other parts of the world. Thank you. Now I'm going to call on Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Hey, it's Bowser.
Good afternoon. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm Mayor of Washington, D.C. I want to thank Judge Pirro for inviting us today. I'm joined by the Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, Pamela A. Smith. Metropolitan Police Department is the local D.C. police. We are here to echo what the U.S. Attorney has said, that this crime will not be tolerated in our city. We're grateful for the partnership with our federal partners. MPD and the FBI have worked hand in hand on this investigation and will continue to do so. I also want to...
Oh, is this where... No, this isn't where I died, is it? No, I died in a cave. This is not a cave. These... I don't have any flash powder, though. I could die here. Oh, no, 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 no. Beware of the swarmers because they spawn minions. Okay, I'll probably leave them alone. Okay.
Acknowledge our families in Washington, D.C. who are suffering and who are afraid and fearful for what this act has done to their sense of safety. But we know that feeling is represented around the globe. Earlier today, I convened a meeting with the Mayor's Interfaith Council, where we spoke with leaders of congregations and Jewish institutions across D.C., as well as D.C. council members.
Vaush clip in the subreddit. How about this?
You know,
fuck off. Vaush clip in sub. Wow. Go back to the cave and avenge yourself. Yes, I will fear nothing. Where's the Vaush clip? Where? I see no Vaush. Is it old? It's not from today, is it? Is this an old clip or what? Did you die in the ogre cave? No, it was a bug cave. Vaush? Stream suggestions. Okay. Oh, you didn't even give me a fucking stream and timestamp. You disgusting prick. What the... Why would you do this to me? What?
And wealth taxes. It all comes down to...
Stream. So 213, 113. About here?
Pretty strong.
Okay, I'll save that up.
And the Attorney General for Washington, D.C. We heard our leaders reiterate messages of love and solidarity with the Jewish community. Sadly, we have had practice standing together as a community to fight anti-Semitism, both in hate speech and in hateful acts.
Fuck, those swarmers are strong.
And so in this moment, we stand shoulder to shoulder as one community, united in love, but also committed to justice for this young couple. I also had the opportunity to speak with the Smalls family, and Sonny Smalls is well known in Washington, D.C., and his family has poured decades of time and love into making sure we have the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. And one special aspect of that museum is that it celebrates local Jewish life. It focuses on DC Jews and how they have been a part of our culture and building the city that we love. So once again, our city stands with our community, working with our institutions to make sure we have all the resources that we need to support them. And with that, Judge, I'll turn it over to the Chief.
Let's run away.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chief Pamela A. Smith, the Chief of Police of the Metropolitan Police Department. Let me begin by reiterating my condolences to the family and friends of Yaron Lazinski and Sarah Milgrim. I also want to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser, Judge Pirro, and Director Jensen for their collaborative effort and support around this tragic incident. What I also will say is that everyone at the Metropolitan Police Department is holding the family in their thoughts and in their prayers. Our detectives have been working around the clock in close partnership with our federal...
Why do they keep calling her Judge? I'm pretty sure they're referring to her by her fucking Fox News name, which is really funny. Because she was Judge Jeanine. I think that's why they're calling her that, because that's her Fox News name. Because she was a judge. She was Judge Jeanine, was right? That's what they called her. Okay. I keep forgetting to buy the fucking things. Come here, Waspy. Hey. Hey. Come here. Come here. Come here. No, don't double aggro. Come on. Come on.
Federal partners. And this effort regarding this investigation has been a collaborative effort. All of the agencies involved in this investigation have been coordinating seamlessly overnight. Members of the Metropolitan Police Department's Office of Homeland Security Intelligence are working in partnership with the FBI to analyze the suspect's activity prior to the shooting. Around D.C., and I want to speak specifically to the community here in the District of Columbia, around D.C. you will see an increased presence of law enforcement officers around the community. You will find us around our faith-based organizations. You will see an increased presence around our schools.
Corey Capitillo, thanks for the $2. And Claymore, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Barbas Dantio, thanks for the $2. You and Preston would make a good team, not going to lie. Oh, thank you. Bogsy, thanks for the $1.99. Well said, Bob. I appreciate that. I don't know what I said, but thank you. Daniel P, thanks for the tier 1 sub. And Murphy, thanks for the $4.99. Do you know who Animarchy is, and would you debate him on whether Israel is committing genocide and ethnic cleansing? He said he'd be willing to debate you. I have no idea who that is, but I'm not doing another genocide debate. Fuck that. Done a billion of them. Waste of time. Funky Tortoise, thanks for 30 shekels. These guys are making you famous. Lol, remember us when you make it big. Oh, I'll try. I'll try. The goal ends in 47 minutes, you guys. You ungrateful fucks. You bastards.
Schools and places like the DC Jewish Community Center.
Okay, let's get this one.
We stand shoulder to shoulder with our Jewish community.
Not the sound reaver.
I also met, along with Mayor Bowser, with some of our faith leaders. I was moved by their desire to ensure that we keep our city safe and we keep our Jewish community members safe. And we are ready to support them in any way possible as we move forward. Most folks in this city know that I take the relationships that we have with our religious communities very seriously. I want to again express and remind the community that if you see something, say something, please let us know. Any information that you provide for us, we will utilize it in support of conducting this investigation. I will now turn it over to the Assistant Director in charge of the Washington Field Office, Steve Jensen.
Thank you, Chief. As the Chief said, I'm Steve Jensen. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the Washington Field Office for the FBI. And I'd like to start by reiterating what Director Patel pushed out publicly, that the tragic murder of these two Israeli embassy employees outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum last night was both an act of terror and directed violence against the Jewish community. And it has the full and unwavering attention of the FBI. The FBI Washington Field Office, JTTF, has been in lockstep with MPD. And with the assistance of FBI offices across the country, we're continuing to investigate and contact the subject's associates, his family members, and co-workers. We are also executing search warrants for his electronic devices, reviewing his social media accounts, and all of his internet postings.
We will find out who his favorite streamers were.
Regarding some internet postings, we are aware of some writings that are purported to have been authored by this subject. We're actively investigating to determine both the authorship and the attribution.
We will find out this man's favorite anime and whether or not he lived near a KFC.
These writings, if they belong to this subject or not. I'd like to thank our partners in the U.S. Attorney's Office for bringing these significant federal charges in quick order within 24 hours or less than of the time of this incident. Make no mistake, this attack was targeted anti-Semitic violence, and it won't be tolerated. These significant charges are a step towards restoring justice for the victims and their families, but our work is not done. The FBI will continue to pursue all leads and use all available resources to investigate this attack. We join MPD in affirming that there is no ongoing threat to this community. And we're also seeking assistance from the public. We do have gaps in this investigation currently. We know the subject landed in the DC area on May 20th and that he was taken into custody on May 21st. We're asking the public, anybody who had contact with the subject, anybody who knew his whereabouts, or where he was located during that gap of time, to contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or to submit an online tip at tips.fbi.gov. And with that, I will turn it back over to Judge.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll take a couple questions. Go ahead.
Sake.
Yes, so we had
What a
spoken
horrible
to a witness who
quest.
said that this was a private event, that it wasn't publicized.
Did he target these people? No. Well, not that we know so far. So far, it looks like he just targeted the event, like people who were associated with the event. So that is like the Jewish Museum at a Jewish networking event. So far, it's not looking good. So far, not looking good. Did you confirm the IDF soldier's identity from yesterday? If so, Animarchy would probably find it interesting as a new perspective for him. Interesting. I haven't confirmed yet, no, but I will. Thank you for reminding me, though.
So is there any idea how he actually knew about this and showed up at this specific event?
You know, that's something that we're investigating right now. I think that, Chief, you'd agree with me on that. That's the kind of thing. Do we know? And
that's still under investigation.
Yeah, we're looking at that. There's a lot. Everybody understand. This is fluid. It's happening now.
You are the same name on Discord, right? If I remember correctly? Yeah, you are. You are. I know.
Oh, go ahead.
Madam U.S. Attorney, you mentioned terrorism. Can you speak to any possible nexus to terrorism? And Assistant Director Jensen, are you confident that this gunman acted alone? Is there any indication at this point that he was inspired? And then also curious if the chief has any concerns about copycat attacks.
Well, first of all, let me say that we're going to continue, as I said, to investigate this as an act of terrorism and as a hate crime. And as we do so, we will bring additional charges whenever those charges are warranted and provable. And I suspect as we go forward, before we get to the grand jury itself, that there will be more charges added. Yes, sir.
Has there been any indication from the investigation so far that the subject was on the radar for the FBI or some other investigative agency around the country? Was he involved in any activism that might have put him on the radar? And also,
doesn't seem so.
Also, on the issue of whether there were anybody.
I've had like fucking regular tankies in my Twitter replies for years who blast more fucking violent rhetoric than this guy did, which is quite funny. But
Else connected to him. Obviously, those.
Like, imagine how many people you'd have to be fucking keeping an eye on if you had to go after people who use violent rhetoric on Twitter, man. It's everywhere. There are people who just do it like as easily as fucking breathing.
Writings were posted, and the timing of that. We're wondering whether you've seen any indication that someone connected to him might have been associated with posting those.
So, a lot of questions. Okay. Let me try and break it down. Chief, I think you addressed some of this yesterday when we first initially briefed the public on this matter. There was nothing in criminal records or in our holdings that indicated that this person was previously known to us or would have popped on our radar or MPD's radar. We know that he originated outside of the district, came in for a conference on May 20th, and was a resident in the Chicagoland area. That's what we know about him currently. As far as associates, relatives, the reason we're checking associates and relatives is to put all the pieces together. There's a lot of unknowns. So known contacts, known relatives, known associates, these are basic investigative steps to put a picture, composite picture together of who the subject is, what did people know about him, and who was he closest to. From that, we'll build out the investigation. Aside from that, I couldn't answer more.
Go ahead.
Hi. A quick question. I'm sorry, Keith Alexander, Washington Post. Were you seeking the death penalty? Can you talk a little bit about that? And also, the night of May 20th, any idea where he stayed at all?
I think that we have an idea of that, but let me just say that, you know, the president and the attorney general have both indicated that, you know, in cases where the death penalty is warranted and seems appropriate, we will use it. It's far too early to say whether that is the case, but this is a death penalty eligible case.
And what about the night of May 20th?
Do you want to talk about that, Chief?
No, I think it's still a part of the investigation.
Definitely still part of the investigation.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the weeds. I think that right now he's been arraigned. He's been presented. Excuse me.
It's in progress.
It's in progress. Okay. Yes, sir.
Can you just, Johnson, can you just clarify one thing you said? You said he was in town for...
She's deaf gonna fry him? Man, I would not want this person being in charge of my fucking sentence if I was like... Especially her views on like Islamic anything, terrorism, Middle East. Yeah, she is gonna roast that boy. God. She might actually take him out into a fucking field and airstrike him. You never know. Bomb them. Whoa, I almost died. 300 health. Holy shit. Health warning. Why won't the last thing drop? Why is it always one more? Fuck's sake.
Conference. Was that a different conference than the one?
Make me very unhappy.
And could you tell us more about what that particular event is?
Come on.
So we're still looking into the nature of the conference we believe associated with his work, and we are contacting his employer and trying to figure out what the nature of his job was. We believe the reason for his flight was related to a conference for his work.
What's the nature of that work?
I don't have it at the top of my head.
And then the other question is, he seems to have been sort of stalking, I forgot what the word was, pacing in front of this event. And he seems to have had pretty easy egress in and out of the place. What does that say about the level of security, and are you investigating
How the
that?
fuck would you know, man?
Well,
actually, the security outside the building, yeah.
Security around these sorts of events and institutions.
So regarding the movements of the subject, obviously still very much a part of the investigation. Composite of collected video.
They needed Doron from Fauda there because there's a scene where he catches a guy looking funny at the embassy and he's like, "Why are you looking at the embassy?" It's a good scene. He had a ticket, right? Yeah, he did. Yeah. Fuck.
Videos, witness statements to put a full picture together before I would comment on any one particular act that he may or may not have been observed doing. As far as security goes for a private entity, I wouldn't comment on that. And as far as posture goes, I would defer to the mayor.
The mayor. Oh, well.
I think that the director is correct. This was not a event that falls into our special events category, where MPD and other government agencies have a stood-up posture. This was a relatively small event at a museum, so MPD or the government agencies wouldn't stand up additional resources unless they were requested or unless we got a call for service. More than that, I will say that we have had a local program and a federal program that have helped institutions, faith institutions, and others who have been concerned about violence, anti-Semitism, or other hateful speech and rhetoric. And very recently, we have issued grants, and we have issued grants over the last several years to those institutions to harden their security, add cameras, add additional security, and I believe that the museum has done some of those things.
I'm going to sneak one last thing in.
All right, I just want to follow up with this. We've been advised that the defendant has appeared in court. He's had an attorney appointed. He's been advised by the judge that he could be punished by death or by life. And of course, we sought detention. The defendant waived his right to a detention hearing and concedes to detention. And right now, a preliminary hearing is set for June 18th at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So it is done.
One clarification, Mr. Denson. You are not ruling out that this manifesto might have been written by this gentleman, right?
We don't know.
We don't know, and that's still very much a part of the investigation.
Okay. Good. All right. Thank you all. Yes, sir. One more.
Yes. Were any MPD officers working details at this event last night, perhaps off duty? And then a follow-up to that, when you say the FBI said a targeted event, do you believe the victims were targeted or simply the event was targeted?
We didn't get to find out if there's a KFC where the guy lives. Fuck's sake. My new location. They're very serious. Oh, here.
So let me answer your first question, Mark. MPD was not assigned to that event. As you know, you've heard me say on last night, there were security officers assigned to the event, but not Metropolitan Police Department members.
On or off duty? On
or off duty.
And then the targeting, was that the event that was targeted, or these two individuals specifically targeted?
We're not saying at this time.
That person isn't using their real profile. They're using the killer's profile picture, right? That chat spammer was using the profile of Rodriguez. That was the joke. Good one.
One question that people are interested in is that it was announced and fairly well known that the Jewish Museum a short time ago opened a major LGBT exhibition, and we were wondering if the investigation is looking into whether the suspect might have known something about that or
Sir, we are looking into absolutely everything. There is so much information we're looking at, and I must tell you, coming from New York, I've never seen the cooperation and the collaboration that I'm seeing here. It was immediate, It was instant, it was coordinated, and my hat's off to this area. And we're going to clean it up. Thank you.
Okay, this guy is fucking blah.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Fuck that. Okay, I need to stop letting poison stack on me. That's very dangerous. Why is there nothing? How long have I waited for this 5th drop? Oh my god. Whew. Okay, I have received intelligence which indicate that fair and balanced Vaush might be posting cringe. And I, as a fair and balanced counterpart, intend to pursue the truth to the fullest extent.
From today, but from last night is, huh? You know, don't you?
I know. Maybe.
Which one? Come on.
Come
you
on.
know.
What a stupid question.
Man accused of killing 2 Israeli embassy staffers in DC, charged with murder of foreign officials. Pretty straightforward title. I honestly, from a like a purely like look at the facts of the case kind of way, it's pretty straightforward and there's not much to say. Guy said, free Palestine as he was being escorted out. Is that contained in this video here?
2 Israeli embassy employees based in Washington, D.C. were shot and killed outside the Capitol Jewish Museum late Wednesday night. We are about a block away from where that shooting took place. As you can see, several police cars are blocking off the entire area. And
I can't see that.
Reporters with outlets from around the world are still here reporting live. We are very close, to give you a sense of where we're at, to an FBI field office several blocks away from the U.S. Capitol. Numerous law enforcement agencies from the area responded to the shooting, including Attorney General Pam Bondi, who said during a press conference that the suspect will be, quote,
the shooter was extremely mentally unwell. Their Twitter account was banned for spamming death threats at Will Stansel. At Will Stansel? No way!
Who is Will Stansel?
You're kidding me! Fuck, that's funny. Oh my god. Who's Will Stansel? One of the more aggressive lib posters on Twitter. Not to say I agree with everything that he says or anything. He is a poster though. Capital P poster, you know, that's it's an honorable role. I had no idea. Well, I assumed this guy was mentally ill because I'll assume like at a default anyone who does like a targeted like killing of civilians is mentally ill. Usually that turns out to be the case.
He's at Vibe Session. Oh. Wait, I love Will Stansel. What the fuck?
Jesus.
I don't call it a vibe session, though. It is a real recession. It's just that Zoomers spend too much on fucking DoorDash and Deliveroo. And then they think they're skin. I mean, they are. It's just that they think they shouldn't be. Why are you poking me? I already watched this fucking video, David. Pay attention.
That's wild. Here's a vid of the suspect saying free Palestine. Yeah, I saw this is one of the reasons people are calling it a false flag, because he was given like a tee up for this, but
No. Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
They're very musical people.
Given a tee up? Oh, just because it looks like they let him talk, but I think that's just people baiting. You know, that's just people want to see conspiracy everywhere. The idea that some of the more mentally ill pro-Palestinian types would do some, we'll say Israel-style military action themselves and kill civilians, it's not surprising given how the discourse has panned out. We'll add this to, the bucket of civilians that have been killed as a consequence of Israel's ongoing genocide of the Palestinians. It's unfortunate. You shouldn't kill civilians. Pardon me. I know. Me and my hot takes. Even if they're working with the Israeli embassy.
He's a victim of they're victims of the Israeli genocide. Oh, Vaush. Oh no.
Health warning.
How do we salvage this one?
Any arguments you see from the left, and there are people doing this, where they're like, well, maybe they shouldn't have been working with Israel. Come on, stop. They're civilians. But Israel kills civilians. Yes, they do in enormous quantities. I'm not engaging in an equation here. I'm just saying, like, don't pretend this gets anything for anyone, right? If anything, you know, you can all look forward to the revocation of the First Amendment sometime within the next next few months. Because, you know, they're begging for it, right? Like, they want so badly. They've been screeching about pro-Hamas terrorism on campus that doesn't exist for over a year now. Obviously, they're looking for, you know, any possible excuse.
I mean, that's just completely false. Not only were some of these protesters pro-Hamas, but, like, lecturers and speakers and people who handed out pamphlets at these fucking events were pro-Hamas. Academics who came to these events were pro-Hamas. We went over this. We went over the electronic intifada contributors who were clearly pro-Hamas. Like, they said, or one of them described themselves as pro-Hezbollah, self-proclaimed.
Do we have an example of that? Do we have an example of that insanity here?
The fact of the matter is the Palestinian cause is an evil one.
Oh, there we go.
There is a ceasefire deal on the table right now that the White House is hoping both Israel and Hamas will sign on to.
There is that funny thing about right-wingers where they're like, listen, this puts the last nail in the coffin for me. There can never be a Palestinian state. I'm like, bro, you never supported one in the first place, then, you fucking idiot. Like realistically, an event like this shouldn't actually change your perspective on anything. It shouldn't change your perspective on the rhetoric of people like Noah and Hasan, because that should have been obvious before anyone got killed, right? And it shouldn't change your perspective on, obviously, the war. Like, why the fuck would it? Because if you have a problem with Israel's conduct, like, you would look at Israel's conduct and describe the problem with it. If you thought the conduct was fine, you would look at the conduct and think it was fine. If it changes your perspective on how, like, what should be done to deal with, like, anti-Semitism on campuses, well, we've already seen the behavior on campuses, and so people can make up their mind whether they think there's enough there to be dealt with or not. Like, realistically, like, nothing about an individual event like this should change anyone's mind about anything. But, yeah.
Health warning.
If you think Israel makes the world unsafe for Jews by conflating Zionism with Judaism, well, then we're always going to think that. AB and the guy in his fundraiser stream said Electronic Intifada was a great source that they use regularly. Okay, great.
Health warning.
AB is not a political commentator, so I don't really care. He can say what he wants.
Shooting change anything when it comes to the course of the war or the negotiations to end it?
Well, I think it speaks to the importance of the only end of the conflict is complete and total surrender by those who support Muslim terror. In World War II, we did not negotiate a surrender with the Nazis. We did not negotiate a surrender with the Japanese. We nuked the Japanese twice.
Wait, we did?
Bam, 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 bam.
That's how you end a war. Yes, we did. It's an unconditional surrender, but that is. Okay, sorry, just basic, like, lack of historical knowledge.
In order to get unconditional surrender.
Wait, what are we referring to there? Okay.
Surrender. That needs to be the same here. There is something deeply, deeply wrong with this culture, and it needs to be defeated.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the total number of civilians who have been killed as a consequence of this conflict has gone up from, like, well in excess of 50,000, I'll tell you that much, to slightly more than well in excess of 50,000. Not trying to be callous about it, it's just like, we all know what's coming from this, right? What's the consequence of this going to be? Is it going to be Israeli detente? Is it going to be a ceasefire? Is it going to be an international response to crack down on the genocide?
I really just don't understand the fact that he thinks this is a consequence of Israel's genocide. It's like, you would never apply this to any Islamophobic attack ever. Like that 6-year-old Palestinian who was murdered by an American fucking racist on after October 7th, that was just one more victim of the Hamas Al-Aqsa flood operation. Like, shut the fuck up. It's so stupid. You would never say that.
Of course not. It's going to be political persecution of anti-genocide protesters here in the United States. Didn't you know they were set to be engaged, though? The two were killed? No, I didn't know that. That's sad. Were they? Or do you mean the shooter in one of the two that he killed? Because if that just opens up more questions.
That would open up.
Yes to the first one?
He's so autistic.
Yeah, that's sad. No to the first one. Yeah, I figured. Anyway, I just, don't buy into the Fed bullshit, obviously. Anyone who tries to turn this into like the left actually is anti-Semitic or what have you is obviously lying for political gain.
Whoa.
And there's a decent chance the person making that argument is a Nazi, right? Given the state of the right at the moment. But also at the same time, anyone who's like, well, actually, this was based, like, it just, this is a
talismanic value to these types of people. This guy was insane, but the people that don't condemn this emulate revolution. The same Pacific Island tribesmen make plane-shaped shrines for veneration.
That's definitely a lot of words that exist, Kalimak. Thank you so much for the £20. I really appreciate it. God damn.
Adventurism. You know, like that's, you know, adventurism.
It's an honor and a privilege.
Where it's not about
humbling and a good thing.
It's not about like the outcome. You're not trying to fight for any kind of like political change. You're instead just trying to like feel like you're the most basest activist in the world.
That's me.
The ADL called out Hasan by name for this. Well, sure, the ADL is a tool of the military-industrial complex. They are an organization that
ADL is just kind of retarded. That's like their problem is that they see anti-Semitism absolutely fucking everywhere, and they do have like a right-leaning slant that they shouldn't really have, like, because that's not what they were founded to do. Like, they've kind of fallen from grace a little bit on that, but you know, unpopular opinion, but you know.
Cynically weaponizes accusations of anti-Semitism in order to further a Zionist agenda. They've done
They're not wrong to call out Hasan though. Hasan enables that shit like in the most unambiguous way possible. How does this have to do with the ADL? Oh, because the ADL was talking about it on CNN and they brought up Hasan and his rhetoric.
Extent of their bias is, I mean, it was always pretty clear, but like after October 7th, that shit got real wacky. Yeah, remember after fucking Elon Musk's Nazi salute, they were like, okay, everyone.
Welcome to Western politics, Scarlett. Everything has something to do with the other thing that I wanted to talk about anyway. That's how we do it. That's how we do Western politics, okay? Get over it.
And come on. It's just like, it's ridiculous.
Fucking ogres, man. This is such a slog of a
so what are they saying?
Come here.
But
I'll join you.
All of us need to call it out. I'm thinking about the New York Times doing a gauzy profile a few weeks ago of this gamer, Hasan Piker, who regularly employs...
Don't think he's a gamer. I haven't seen any impressive video game performances from him, to be honest.
True. Defamation.
Awful genocidal rhetoric against Jewish people in the Jewish state. Like, extremists should not be empowered. People who spout prejudice should not be platformed. This is a moment when we need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, we've got to stop this because the consequences are deadly.
Yeah, you get it. But like the ADL would like happily trade away American democracy and every constitutional protection that we enjoy for infinite, unending military support to Israel. The idea that they're a civil rights organization is laughable. Literally look at anything they've said or been saying. There's not much really to go over there. It's like, we know what their job is, right?
It's the Noah Samsen defense. Look at what they've said. Okay, what they say? Just look at what they've said, bro.
Yeah, unending, infinite Gazan child death or whatever. No, it's this could very well mark a turning point, you know, an enormous crackdown. And yeah, I don't know. History's going to look at us very, very unfavorably. Right? When the historians are mounting up the enormous pile of dead from this conflict.
I seem to remember people like fucking Tommy Robinson and those people, like they hated the ADL as well because they came after them. Even though Tommy Robinson doesn't really do anti-Semitism. He'll do Soros theories, but other than that, he's like very supportive of Israel, and he always claims to be like fighting fucking anti-Semitism by beating up Muslims or whatever. But the ADL still fucked with him quite a lot.
Conflict, and they see, you know, what our government and other Western governments wrought as what they were excused to do as a consequence of you know, this conflict. It's not going to look good for us, and by us, of course, I mean Americans. And us, in terms of lefties, will come out looking sterling. Because, like, just don't do the genocide. Just stop killing people. Would be great.
Are the ADL killing people? Okay, that's really stupid. Like, who? The people at the embassy? Would Vaush have even said that? Would Vaush have even said that when people were attacking the Russian embassy? Because that did happen. Loads of people attacked Russian embassies. Like I think in Ireland and other parts of Europe, people were attacking Russian embassies. Did Vaush ever say that, like, oh, just stop invading Ukraine? Like, you just shouldn't attack these institutions. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't help anyone. And it's also, you have no idea what the opinions and actions are of the people in those embassies. Like, embassy isn't just the fucking... He might have. Yeah, I thought that was dumb. That was, if he did say that, that's really silly. Oh, he did police people calling Russian soldiers orcs, though. Yes. Oh, yeah. The shooter didn't know that they worked for the embassy. Yeah, because the attack wasn't at the embassy. The CNN should do a full feature on Hasan's perspective of the shooting. Okay.